Hi class, welcome to my read aloud for Wednesday. We're going to be reading Cesar Chavez again. We are going to be reading part two. We're going to learn a little bit more about his life. Before I get started, I'd like you to think about what sort of book were we reading? What was it? What was the genre or the type of book called? Was it fictional, non-fictional, biography, fairy tale, fantasy, historical fiction? I'd like you to just take some moment to think about what sort of book, what sort of genre was this book. It was a biography. So if you remember again, a biography is we learn about a person's life or another's life. And normally it's a person who is pretty famous, as you will learn about. And then our essential question again was, what is fair? So while I'm reading, you're going to be thinking about that question, what is fair? Something that we started working on during the read aloud yesterday is we started looking at Cesar's different characteristics. This is something we've been talking about before. When we talked about activists, we talked about their internal characteristics. That means what is in the inside. So in the in, you can think of it like this. Inside, internal characteristics. So you can be honest. He was honest, and he was really willing to speak his mind. He was very verbose, which means he'd like to just say what he was feeling. And then external, that is, you can think of it as this exterior or what is on the outside. Exterior means outside. So he stopped going to school. That was where we left off. He quit school in 8th grade to start working full time on the fields. So what I'd like to see is what happens when he, now that he's quit school in 8th grade, let's see what has happened. I'd like you to, while I'm switching over to this screen, I'd like you to think about and make some predictions about what you think is going to happen to Mr. Chavez. Okay, so at age 17, Cesar left to serve in the U.S. Navy. He returned 2 years later to find nothing had changed in the labor camps. I served my country in a war, but nothing has changed for my people. Growers pay us so little that we are starving. We can't afford doctors or medicine either. Cesar left the labor camps, but his new home was not much better. In 1952, Cesar and his wife, Helen, settled in a Mexican neighborhood in San Jose, California. This poor, overcrowded barrio was called San Cipuedas. The name is Spanish for get out if you can. I wondered why it was called Cipuedas, get out if you can. I'm wondering, first off, what are you guys thinking? What are you wondering? Take a moment and think after hearing about his living situation. I'm wondering, why is this place called Get Out if you can? What is so bad about it? What's so horrible about it? And then I also see over here, he said, I served my country in a war, but nothing has changed for my people. I'm wondering, what are you guys thinking? My people, who is that? Using our background knowledge, so our BK, not Burger King, but background knowledge, and the text, what do we know about Cesar and his family? His family was migrant workers. Those are his people. We know that his family was migrant workers, and they worked in the farm. Migrant workers worked in farms. And that's what he's noticing. He's saying growers, people who grow, pay the workers very little. So the farmers are paying the field workers a very small amount. In Salas y Puertas, Caesar became friends with Catholic priest Donald McDonnell. 5-year-olds are working long hours in the fields. Nobody should. That's Caesar right there. They should be in school. They shouldn't have to live like this. And then this is, once again, our priest. Read this book, Life of Gandhi. Gandhi worked for social change in India without using violence. And then this is Caesar. Changes must be made here. People need fair wages and safe working conditions. They shouldn't get fired if they're too sick to come to work. Wow. Right there, this reminds me, what he is saying reminds me so much of what is happening in our world right now. People are still having to go to work. If they work at a essential place, maybe they work at a restaurant or Walmart or Target or another store like that, or grocery stores, they're still having to go to work every day. And what if they get sick? What's going to happen? Are they going to get fired? They're very worried about the consequences of what could happen. So once again, going back to his chart, his internal, what's something we know about his insides? Take a moment and think. I put that he was ambitious. He's realizing what needs to be changed, and he's willing to go for that change and fight for the change, be a social activist. And then I also put he's reflective, because to make that change and to be so ambitious, he first realized what is happening within the society that he's living in. Getting organized. In June 1952, an English stranger named Fred Ross came to Caesar's home. Ross worked for a Latino civil rights group called the Community Service Organization. At first, Caesar and his friends didn't trust Ross. The creek your kids play in is dirty. The cops beat you up. Your paychecks are tiny. What will you do about it? This is somebody asking. And then this is, those 2 dots are actually showing us that it's almost a thought bubble. He seems to understand our problems. This is Caesar commenting on Mr. Ross. So Mr. Ross came, and it says that he is the leader of a Latino civil rights group. I'd like you guys to think about, what do you think this group does? Using our background knowledge of what the civil rights movement, we've talked about it earlier on this year. We talked about what it was for and what they were fighting for. I'd like you to think about, what do you think a Latino civil rights group, what's their mission? What's their goal or purpose? Well, you can kind of use, it's an inference once again, you're using your background knowledge plus the text to understand that this man is fighting for more equality and more equity of Latinos. So equality of working Latinos. That is this specific group mission, is to make sure that the Latinos are getting the conditions they deserve for working. Ross's words caught Caesar's attention. The CSO put an end to segregated schools and theaters in Southern California. We got the cops who beat up those Chicanos thrown in jail. I heard about that. This is Caesar. One Latino alone has little power. Caesar, but the CSO has power because we work together. I'd like you to take a moment and to think about, what does he mean by that? Why was the CSO able to create change? Because they are working together. Why is working together better than working by yourself and making this change? We talked about that with digital advocacy. Why is it important to spread your message and to get others to join your cause? The next day, Caesar knocked on his neighbor's doors. He had agreed to work for the CSO. It's important. I've never voted. It's important for Latinos to vote. Only then will things change for us. Read this list of candidates the CSO supports. Caesar was good at organizing people. He soon started a CSO chapter in Salsipretas and nearby towns. In 1959, Caesar became the executive director of the CSO. Under Caesar's leadership, the CSO became the most powerful Mexican-American organization in the country. Caesar began to start a farm workers union. In a union, workers can stand together to ask for better treatment from the growers. But CSO voted to focus on the rights of city Chicanos. Caesar was unable to start a union through the CSO. He decided to resign and start a union on his own. So what I'd like you guys to think about is, it says he's resigning. I'd like you guys to think about, what does that mean? If we're using the context clues, it says he decided to resign and start one on his own. I'm thinking resign means to quit. He's quitting this place to start working by himself and to find other people to help him with his goal. So the CSO goal was to help city Chicano. That means people who are living in the city trying to get jobs, versus Caesar is trying to help farm Chicanos, farmer Chicanos, or people who are working in the fields in rural areas. Okay, so I'm going to end this page, and then we're going to, this will be the last part of it. In April 1962, Caesar and Helen moved with their 8 children to Delano, California. Caesar began talking with local farmers right away. We tried a union before. The organizer left us and the union broke up. Then we were blacklisted and couldn't get hired anywhere. I won't leave you. This union is my dream. So if we go back to our traits, I'd like you to think about, how would you describe Caesar, his internal characteristics? How would you describe his personality and what he is doing? I would describe him internally, once again, as very ambitious. He decided to start a whole new group, it's called a union, on his own, and to find other people who were like-minded and wanted to change things with him. So I think that he's very ambitious. He's still reflective. Another word I would say, he knows how to cooperate. When I say cooperate, he knows how to work with a team and start a team. Those are 2 very important things to get your goal of change across the nation, or right now in California. So I'd like you guys to think about our essential question again. What is fair? What is Caesar fighting for? How is he able to make change? What is his plan? He's doing step by step different things to get his plan accomplished. So I'd like you to get the change accomplished. So I'd like you to really think about that and maybe compare it to your plan that you guys wrote about last week. I hope you guys have a great Wednesday and make sure to do the exit ticket. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening to me.